Welcome back. Today we will look at fewer tanks than previously, but we will be going into more details. And I want to start with this tank here. The first thing you will notice is that this is not a top 100 tank, but that is because I want us to look at what could have been improved to reach that top 100. We need to remember that judges do a pre-selection, and afterwards they will look at details. It is after this pre-selection that judges will either move you up towards the top 100 or downwards. I see a mountain landscape story with a lake and trees, so at first impression I like what I see because I see a strong story. Now, when we take a deeper look, some details show up that moves the scape down instead of up towards the top 100. First off, the fish seem to be floating and not swimming, taking away the underwater feeling from the scape. As I see that, it makes me take a look at other details, like how the plants seem to influence the scale of the overall layout. When we look closely, we can see that the moss in the center has pretty much the same size all throughout the layers. This takes away from the depth perception. Same goes for the red plants in the front. They give me a feeling of mismatch with the trees the scaper created. Another thing that slightly reduces the depth is the way the mountains in the back were placed. I would have liked to see less horizon and more height, maybe even an extra smaller peak in the left-hand corner. Add in the blue background, and you lose quite a lot of the depth perception. This scape, which is also a landscape, did make it into the top 100. I believe it is because the creator created better proportions and more depth. The creator did that by putting a lot of details in place and matching all the sizes better. You might say, yeah, but it is not a mountainscape. And you would be right. But this one is, at rank 54. Look at how the scaper goes from low to high, how the plants look smaller in the back. The horizon is much smaller, and it's not blue. Now let's look at a different style tank, a jungle style. At first glance, a beautiful tank. Nice play on light and shadow.
But looking at it closer, the wood seems to lack some maturity. The wood, a little too clean, too bare.
Also, there are two breaks in the reflections that catch my eye, and my eyes seem to go from the right side corner that is very well lit to the center that is dimmer. Somehow, it makes it feel a little off balance. This tank has a better reflection on the left than the previous. The wood seems to have a more mature look, so why is it practically the same ranking? Personally, I think it has to do with the depth perception and surface reflection. A few more pieces of wood towards the center focal point would have given it more depth, and the still surface gives it a dirtier look. Some ripples would have helped. This tank here addresses some of the issues I mentioned before, making it reach rank 37. Firstly, the extra wood towards the focal point gives it more depth, so does the extra height. Also, looking at the wood and stones, we see a lot more plants and mosses, giving the overall tank a more aged or mature look. This islandscape caught my eyes because of the vibrant color and overall healthy look of the tank, and the surface reflection is a stunning show of color. Add in the nice reflection of the carpet compared to the side, and at first glance, it looked great. However, what makes me move it towards the lower rankings is the clearly defined limits of the tank. The black background really helps the colors pop, but takes away from the depth perception. The scaper also took a risk. The calm surface gives a great reflection, but do you see the piece of floating plant on the right-hand side? This scape here, while not 100% an islandscape, it does have a strong island vibe due to the central trunk. See how the wood creates more depth and how the plants add to that effect? And the surface is also calm here, but I don't see any floating plants left by mistake. This third islandscape also creates more depth, and it contradicts something I mentioned about the junglescapes. This tank and the previous one have less of an aged look on several pieces of wood. The reason these two scapers can get away with that is because of the theme. A dead trunk or a dead root or tree underwater lends itself better to this possibility. This more chaotic nature-style aquarium is a style I know some judges like. But doesn't that one red fish at the surface left feel out of place? And what do you think about the carpet? Is it too well maintained or too chaotic for this scape? Compare it to this aquarium. The fish are a better match. The tank is filled a little more with hardscape and gives me a feeling of being better balanced. You might have noticed all these tanks today were from 2018. That is on purpose. We need to see how scapes evolve and styles grow. So who were the top 2 at IAPLC 2018? This scape ranks second and features some details we have seen in today's video and in previous videos. An arch to help create more depth. The hardscape fills the sides, creating a frame for the scape. In this case, a valley canyon look. Plant selection is balanced and helps improve the depth perception. A nice play on light and dark while allowing for details to be seen. The winner had a triangular composition with vibrant, healthy plants and a nature-style vibe to it. The fish accentuated the flow of the wood and plants. Reflections on the right-hand side are great. Good play on color and clever use of plants to create some shadows. I do, however, have to admit the second place was my favorite of the 2. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and we will see each other again next time. Take care, enjoy the holidays, and see you next year. Please like and subscribe.